The DMV took corrective action and rescinded 17,000 alleged non-compliant, non-domicile commercial learners permits and commercial driver licenses. Federal regulators continued to apply pressure through this period and withheld roughly $160 million in federal highway funds from California.
That was California State Assembly member Juan Carrillo earlier this week, describing what federal commercial driver's license enforcement is looking like on the ground in California. Welcome back to the States. I'm Greg Bishop. Now, 22 states have gone to court to block the Trump administration from accessing a database containing the personal information of roughly 17 million commercial drivers. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the federal government's entitled to that data and needs it to keep the highway safe. Now, this is the latest in a series of legal fights. The same coalition of attorneys general have also challenged federal efforts to obtain state data tied to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as food stamps, and the temporary assistance for needy families and the participation in those programs. Separately, the federal government's also looking at voter registration records. Now, in each of these cases, various states are providing those records to the federal government, but there are states that are not handing those records over and instead going to court. Each one of these cases, those states, they argue that they demand the federal authority is exceeding their authority and also threatening the privacy of those who participate in those taxpayer-funded programs. The administration has argued the information is necessary to enforce existing law. Now, the Center Square's Enterprise and Investigating Unit has previously reported that nearly 24 state attorneys general began coordinating potential litigation against Donald Trump as early as April 2024, months before the election, where he was elected to a second non-consecutive term. Now, the newest lawsuit, announced Thursday, it names the Department of Transportation, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, and the American Association of Motor Vehicles Administrators. A related case targets the Department of Homeland Security. The states suing, they claim the administration's demand for the commercial driver data is unlawful. Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul, one of the lead plaintiffs in this case, put it this way, quote, "The database was created 40 years ago, so states could share information with each other to stop unsafe drivers from operating commercial vehicles, and the federal government's decision to ransack that database puts the whole system in jeopardy." Another attorney general said that this is an ongoing case in New York. Letitia James, she said, "I'm suing to stop the Trump administration from seizing millions of confidential state driving records without any lawful justification." She said that states won't allow the federal government to force states to choose between protecting Americans' privacy and upholding public safety. But Department of Transportation Secretary Duffy, he responded on social media saying, quote, "Liberal states are siding with illegal truck drivers over the safety of American citizens." He added that the 22 states are trying to block the department from obtaining DMV files to verify who's driving semis, information that he says the federal government is entitled to get. Then he called the lawsuits, quote, "another tactic by the left to protect illegals in this country." Now, federal officials point to recent enforcement results in Operation Highway Shield. The Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Transportation said they removed more than 800 dangerous truck drivers from the roads, including more than 50 who were in the country illegally. Similar CDL enforcement efforts have been underway in other states, like in California, where it's being felt on the ground.
Federal regulators continue to apply pressure through this period and withheld roughly $160 million in federal highway funds from California. The federal administration has the authority to fully certify a state's driver's license program when it finds substantial noncompliance. A full decertification has barred California from issuing, renewing, or upgrading any commercial credentials, not just those classified as non-domicile, bringing our state's ability to license to a halt. The California DMV pushed back, filing litigation against the federal administration, arguing that states retain meaningful autonomy with their federal regulations to determine how they assess compliance and adequacy with their own licensing program. On March 7, a federal court ruling directed the DMV to cancel approximately 13,000 California driver licenses, stripping thousands of experienced drivers of their livelihoods overnight.
So what exactly is being demanded by the federal government? Well, according to the attorneys general who are suing, the federal government's ordered production of the full commercial driver's license information system database, records covering about 17 million drivers. And they've threatened to cut more than $10 million in federal taxpayer funds to the AAMVA if the organization does not comply. Now, faced with that threat, AAMVA, they informed the states it would turn over that data. And that prompted the emergency lawsuits from these attorneys general seeking to block that transfer. Now, the states notes that they, not the federal government, are the ones responsible for verifying a driver's identity, medical fitness, immigration status, and driving history across jurisdictions. The states suing, they argue, the personal data in the system belongs to the states, and that the federal demand reaches back 5 years without sufficient legal authority or privacy limits. Now, the 22 states suing include Arizona, California, Colorado, Illinois, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Washington, Virginia, and Wisconsin, just to name a few. We'll keep following up on this case, so be sure to subscribe to the Center Square newsletter so you can get these stories and many more in your inbox every day.